Welcome to AIQ, Applied Intelligence. AIQ blends decades of utility experience with device design and production. The Insight S700 is AIQ's earth fault protection relay with particularly high sensitivity. Our objective there was to achieve at least 10,000 ohm sensitivity, so that in current terms is around 0.5 of an amp on a 10 kV system. We also want to make sure it can work with any type of neutral treatment, whether that be directly earthed, resistance earthed, isolated neutral, compensated neutral, and any other type that you might like to think of. We've ensured that it's readily retrofittable so that it can readily enhance whatever earth fault protection you might already have, or replace it, whatever is most appropriate. So the how about how we've put together the S700 is that we're exploiting a combination of well-established algorithms and two novel algorithms unique to the S700, all operating simultaneously. In the event that the device is not just standalone, but is also synchronized with other S700s on the same bus bar, or indeed with sensors out along the network as part of an L700 fault location system, we can achieve even greater sensitivity due to the time synchronization across all those devices. In addition, we use clip-on CTs to minimize any interference with existing plant, and of course if you have a core balance CT or can install one, then that makes sure that we get optimum sensitivity. The first of the novel earth fault detection algorithms that we have on the S700. This is an advanced form of the well-known Fisher type of fault inception transient detection suitable for high impedance earth systems. And it's an advancement in that it differentiates U0, and then by comparing I0 and DU/dt, we get a consistent relationship over the whole transient period. The expression for a quantity called Q is shown there. What this does for us is that it gives discrimination between healthy and faulted feeders in a more secure way, as you can see from the two waveforms. The Wisher form on the first little diagram there shows U0 and I0. You can see that the directional information is really only available over the first quarter cycle or so. After that it's lost, whereas DU/dt and I0 shows the very consistent directionality right down to maybe 3 cycles or thereabouts. So for a faulted feeder, the value of this Q factor would be negative, whereas for a healthy feeder it's going to be positive. So there's a very clear directional information that, as I said, persists for 2 to 3 cycles rather than a quarter of a cycle. The second of the two novel earth fault detection techniques that we've got, this one we call the waveform similarity coefficient, and it applies cosine similarity analysis techniques that gives an estimate of the similarity between any two non-zero vectors. It's independent of the magnitudes of the vectors and really only looks at the similarity in their angles. The cosine similarity analysis always produces a measure in the range between -1 and +1. And on the right, we've shown some outputs when we compare 3I0 with phase voltages A, B, and C. And in this case, you can very clearly see that 3I0 and VA are very similar indeed, approaching 1, whereas the other two phases, B and C, compared to 3I0, are consistently showing very high negative values, not quite -1, but certainly up around -0.7 to -0.8, and that's regardless of the earth fault sensitivity required there, up to 12 kiloohms, and indeed the angle of inception of the earth fault. So as you can see, it's a very distinct difference between the two. So having looked at the two novel earth fault detection techniques in a little bit of detail, I just want to move on to the more typical earth fault detection relays you'd find in the marketplace generally. And all of these are available on the Insight S700, the likes of residual overcurrent and delta 3I0, also zero sequence admittance and delta Y0. The old standards, if you like, 3I0 cos 5, or the likes of compensated neutral or directly as neutral systems, also 3.0 sin 5 for isolated neutral, and also neutral voltage displacement is there. There are others for phase fault protection, which we're not going to go into just now. So that's just a very brief introduction to the Insight S700. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions or would like more information.